Welcome to Season 5 of Soundtrack Your Life. I'm Ryan Peck.
And I'm Nicole Barlow.
And this is the podcast where we talk to a guest about soundtracks. Today we have the founder of Perseverance Records, Robin Esterhammer. Welcome, Robin.
Thank you very much, Ryan and Nicole.
Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about Perseverance Records?
Well, the way Perseverance Records was founded was sort of like a little, what should I say, like a little miracle. The way it was started was that I had just left Christopher Freige's Sonic Images Records, where I was working as his assistant. And I was looking for work. And then a friend of mine from England, Paul Tonks, who's also writing the liner notes for us now, said, you know what, Robin? A friend of mine just found the master tapes for Dr. Phibes Rises Again in a dumpster behind CTS Studios in London. And I was like, oh my God, how can they do that? And we were both really shocked by that. And there were just so many more master tapes in the dumpster. But he had only taken these ones because he said, you know, maybe I can do something with these one day. And then he contacted Paul. And Paul said, yeah, I know somebody who could do something with those. Robin Esterhammer in Los Angeles. And we got in touch. We started talking. I talked to John Gale, who was still alive at the time. And I said, yeah, absolutely. We can release it. I have no idea how to do that, but let's do that. It'll be fun. You know, it'll be great. And so I reached out to MGM, Jonathan Watkins, and said, you know, we have these master tapes. Can we do a release of that? And then Jonathan said, yeah, sure. You know, back then it was still much cheaper to release a CD because the licensing fees hadn't been so exaggerated yet. And so we did that, and that was 22 years ago. So that's how Perseverance Records came about. And then we did the next one. We did Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which was a leftover from my Sonic Images days because I wanted to release the album back then. Never happened. And then we did the first Dr. Phibes. And haven't looked back since.
So Perseverance Records has just released Forsaken Themes from Fantastic Films Volume 2.
Yep.
Who Wants to Live Forever? Which obviously is a reference to The Highlander.
Highlander, yes. My favorite film of all time.
You know, I took a class at a community college, and the professor said The Highlander is a perfectly edited film.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like just how each scene kind of dissolves into the next scene, and the way that the director kind of framed each shot, where it was like a perfect blend. Like he was like, it is a perfectly edited film.
Yeah, no, I agree. Just the way they transition from one scene, you see the Connor McLeod's eyes, and then it goes over to the eyes of the Mona Lisa on the back.
Exactly, that's what he was saying.
Building in New York, and it's brilliantly made, and the music by Michael Kamen, and the songs and the additional music by Queen, big Queen fan, huge Queen fan. They just work so perfectly together. They complement each other that it's such a shame that it never been released as a soundtrack.
Right.
But that might change, that might change in the near future.
Yeah, I sure hope so. That seems like a big piece of like pop culture that people are missing out on.
Oh, huge. I mean, in Europe, it's like one of the most famous films,
Oh, and it has a huge following in the States as well.
Yeah.
So the Highlander suite, which was re-recorded for this compilation, that's kind of like the crown jewel, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It was actually only the second piece we'd ever the second project we'd ever recorded for a compilation. We did an Ennio Morricone compilation 2012, and that went really well. That was a fun project. We did that in Budapest, and it was just so much fun. So then was it the second day? I think the second day we did a few other recordings of like Star Trek, First Contact, E.T., Poltergeist, just a whole bunch of really cool songs that we want to put into songs. And I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
So for this compilation, like how much? I mean, obviously you put a lot of work into it, but it just sounds like there's just so many people you have to talk to put together like a very impressive list like you have on this track listing.
Yeah, you're right. The Highlander Suite is definitely the crown jewel. And actually, the way that happened was that I had looked into a recording of how would I say that without giving away too much? Because it's sort of a work in progress. We were looking to do a re-recording of a bigger project, and then I reached out to Nikiforos, who had been introduced to me by Edward Wendler, whose track is closing the album, theme from Dragon Soldiers. And he put me in touch with Nikiforos, and we really hit it off right away. And we've been friends for over 4 years now, 5 years now. And he said, there was somebody who recorded a Highlander Suite, and I was like, oh my God, I have to get my hands on that. So I called him. It was a recording it was either Dusseldorf or. Yeah, I think it was Dusseldorf in Germany. And they were originally going to license the Highlander Suite to us, but there were a few recording issues that we had with that recording. So I said, maybe we can record it ourselves, or I forget if it was me or if it was Nikiforos who suggested we record it. But we decided eventually to go for it, although it was way more expensive than actually licensing it. But we had it, we own it now, and we can license it. We can do with it whatever we want to. It was recorded in North Macedonia by Fames Studio Orchestra, which is an orchestra that does a lot of film scores and a lot of other albums as well. And it really worked well. Nikiforos took his car and his girlfriend up to North Macedonia from Greece, and he sat in the booth for 2 days. I don't remember. And he recorded the Highlander Suite and then an Alien Suite that hasn't been released yet. That's actually going to be on the third compilation, volume 3, which is going to be called Xenomorph because it's from Alien.
Exciting.
And very cool.
We did that the second time, and then he took everything back with him to Greece. George Milioris mixed and edited it together with Nikiforos. And then they sent everything over, and I was just in heaven. Highlander sounds really good, but Alien is just a masterpiece, how they recorded that.
Well, that's thrilling. That's super exciting. And the Alien trilogy is obviously another huge thing for fans and has such a cult following. I think just a following would probably be more accurate at this point. It's got to be so satisfying to give that sort of thing to fan communities, or give it back to them, to people that are completists that have been searching for these things for so long. Is that part of sort of the passion and the joy behind this, is being able to connect people with things that they have these recollections of, that they're so passionate about too?
Yeah, that's absolutely one of the reasons. One of the reasons I did found Perseverance Records was that there was so much music out there that just never saw the light of day. And I said, we have to bring out music to the fans, Back then it was still a fairly untapped market. Right now it's pretty It's pretty. What's the word I'm looking for? It's pretty
Saturated.
saturated. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's pretty saturated with all these expanded versions and expanded and remastered and remastered and re-remastered. And when we were working on the Highlander recording, we said, we have to do something else. This is so much fun, And the result is actually after Alien. Right now, what we're doing is we're recording a 300-minute mega project of James Horner film music.
Cool.
And we're working with the estate, working with his widow, Sarah Horner, who's been really helpful so far. And we're working with SSP Spectra Shimmers Productions in Norway. And it just could be better. I mean, it's a huge undertaking. If you realize that it's 5 hours of music, 5 hours of big orchestral music. Some of them are a little bit less in instrumentation. The other ones are like a full orchestra with a choir. And what we're doing is, in order to finance that, we're going to start a Kickstarter campaign in about 2 weeks. And I don't know if that's something that you guys might want to be interested in promoting with us.
Oh, yeah,
That'd
for
be
sure.
great. That'd be
Absolutely.
awesome if you want to do that. And but back to Highlander. Nicky Forrest was in touch, or has been in touch with the Michael Kamen estate. He's actually been there. He's talked to Michael's daughter Zoe, and we got the scores and the parts actually from Ulrich Wünschel in Germany, who had commissioned the Highlander suite for his concert in Düsseldorf in Germany. And we said, we'd like to re-record it, if that would be okay with him. I said, yes, absolutely, very gracious about the whole thing. And then we said, we're going to do the whole thing. We're going to do the whole Highlander thing. So we're working with Zoe Kamen right now on actually getting a re-recording of the entire Highlander soundtrack without the Queen songs. But if possible, with the instrumental tracks that Queen contributed, like the Kurgan's Drive with the slightly edited version of Roger Taylor's A Dozen Red Roses for My Darling, which made it to the film as the and then on the Queen album goes to like, don't lose your head, don't lose your head. And so that's hopefully going to be on it, but that's a major undertaking where we're also going to go for a Kickstarter project with that, a Kickstarter campaign with that. And that will be a massive undertaking. But we're so thrilled, and hopefully we're going to be able to do all the right instrumentation so we can do Michael and Freddie's and Brian and Roger and John's music so we can do them justice. And then the Highlander suite was just a little bit of a teaser for the fans for the full recording of the full complete orchestra performing the complete score.
Yeah, that's so exciting to hear about.
Yeah, we're pretty happy. We're pretty happy at the moment.
Yeah, it sounds like that material is in the right hands, which
Thank you, Nicole.
it's a comfort to fans, right? To know that people with knowledge and passion are really treating this the way that it deserves and elevating it in new ways as well. That there is a reboot of Highlander, I guess.
That's been in the works for I think 14 years now. Originally, Henry Cavill, or Cavill, I don't know how to pronounce it. He was supposed to play the Highlander, and I don't know if it's ever going to be happening. Why perfect something that is complete in its existence in the first place?
Yeah.
How can you remake it? It's like remaking Citizen Kane,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm automatically resistant to the idea of most reboots, but especially for something as iconic as Highlander. I don't know how you do a better job than the
Yeah, exactly.
original. I mean, again, no disrespect to the filmmakers or to Henry Cavill. If it does come to pass, I think they do want to use the original Queen song, so maybe they will see the light of day.
But they're so ingrained in the people's minds,
Right.
and with the images and the music, and you have the scenery up in the Highlands. How can you listen to like Who Wants to Live Forever without thinking of B.G. Edney climbing up the hill and saying, you never grow old, and you can't do that. You can't improve on that. It's just such an emotionally charged film that you just can't do it.
Yeah, and the attention to detail, like I said, with the editing,
Yeah.
why would you try to remake that?
And I don't think there's a visually capable, another visually capable director like Rasamal K.E. I don't think anybody can do that film justice if they remade it.
Yeah, it feels a little bit untouchable to me.
Untouchable, that's a good word, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I see also on the track listing you have some selections from Mario Beltrami's Resident Evil score. And we had a composer on our podcast last year, Jermaine Stiegel, and he said when he got into USC's film composition program, the first thing that he did is he walked up to his professor and said, "Do you know Mario Beltrami? I'm looking for Mario Beltrami." And
oh, really?
Yeah. And I think Jermaine was, I think his first ever intern. Mario's first intern was Jermaine.
Oh, really? Oh, that's cool. That's a cool story.
And he's a fantastic guy, fantastic composer. When I was listening through the tracks, when I got to the Resident Evil ones, they're so impactful and so different.
Yeah.
I really appreciated having them on there. It's just such a nice thing to hear that I think you don't often invest yourself in. It was great on headphones. I really enjoy those Resident Evil tracks.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah. We included those. Originally, we wanted to have the full score for Resident Evil, which is something that might still happen. Although there's a little bit of a situation with Marilyn Manson right now and his legal troubles.
Oh.
We are aware of those.
We are aware of that.
Say no more.
So we couldn't get any music to license that had anything composed by him. But Christoph Becker in Munich with Neue Konstantin, he was so helpful. He's such a wonderful guy. He just really understood. We've done another album with him, David Newman's Konferenz der Tiere, Animals United. And we did another one, and he said, you can use this, you can use these ones. You want to hear them and approve them. But he said, as long as you don't use any Marilyn Manson music, you can use that. And we said, absolutely. So Buck Sanders, Marco Beltrami's business partner, said, you know what? I always wanted to remix those tracks, and the original soundtrack that came out just had like a remix that was like really, it wasn't what they wanted. And then when we did the 4 tracks, I believe it is, 4 or 5 tracks, they spent hours and hours and hours on that. And they were so happy and appreciative that somebody cherishes the music. And Marco is huge. I mean, he's done the last 3 Die Hard movies. It's just a matter of time before he gets to do a Star Wars movie, or a James Bond movie or something.
Right. And everyone loves his stuff that he did for Scream, that whole franchise.
Yeah, absolutely. And we just hit it off, and we're working on one more album that we're probably going to do with him, but we don't have the papers yet, so I can't say anything what it is as to what it is. But him and also David Williams, with whom we've done the first 2 Prophecy albums, scores. They are just, I found out in like but this is not, almost 30 years of working in the film music industry, that the composers are, in general, generally speaking, a very underappreciated, misunderstood, and not cherished enough folk who would see nothing more than having their music performed, having their music released, talk to their fans. Christian is another example. We're working on a mega huge Christian project at the moment, and he, first of all, he signs everything as your friend. Like whenever we get an email from him, yes, your friend Christian.
No.
And he's even met my son Kai, and then at the end of the evening he said, "You know, Kai, you and we're friends now." And
No.
I was just so exhilarated because he just loves Christian's music, and he was like, "Oh,
nice.
we're friends now," you know.
Wait, wasn't Chris Young Jermaine's professor that got him in touch with Mario? I believe that was
I think that was, yeah, because they had, and it was actually Jerry Goldsmith as well. He did. Marco worked with Jerry Goldsmith for a while.
Okay. Yeah, I've been listening to a lot of Jerry Goldsmith lately because my daughter wants to watch Mulan every day.
He's amazing. He's my favorite. Jerry Goldsmith is my all-time favorite film composer. He's just a genius.
Yeah.
And and then Resident Evil again. We put those 4 or 5 tracks on the album, and immediately we said, "This sounds so good. We have to do something else with these guys again." And we hope that the new score is gonna come out, hopefully on Perseverance Records. If not, we'll have to figure something out, maybe do a re-recording. But my business partner, Silvio Barrera, is a huge Marco Beltrami fan. And he's also really into films and horror films. And he has like, a statue of the T-1000, the T-800 from Terminator 2, and he has like Freddy's gloves from Nightmare on Elm Street, and just kinds of really cool stuff that he has. And he's been really a joy to work with. He's very knowledgeable of horror films and science fiction films, fantasy films. When I told him that we would get a Resident Evil selection on our album Volume 2, he was so happy. He was just immediately, "Yes, let's do this. And maybe we can do that." And he was in touch with Buck, and he said, "Let's do this. Let's try this." And he was just happy. He was just really, really, really happy fellow for sure. And then we had the close. Well, I don't want to jump ahead of myself, so go ahead, Ryan or Nicole.
So, it sounds like you're kind of working on a bunch of different projects at the same time. But when did you kind of conceptualize the second volume after you finished the first Forsaken Themes compilation?
That was actually a project that was being developed simultaneously. I had already known Charles Bernstein from an album that we did with him, or 2 albums, I forget. And it was the unused score to Serpent and the Rainbow that I had always wanted to release. And it was just nobody knows who owns it. Record labels don't own it. I talked to everybody that was involved in the film, except for like the craft service person. I mean, everybody was just contacted, and nobody knows who it belonged to. So we licensed it from Charles Bernstein, who is the composer, who thinks he might own it, but he's not. Don't take my word for it. And so we included that one as the second selection on the Volume 2. So and then there was Resident Evil. So we kind of had like the second volume like halfway mapped out when the first one was came out, and then we decided, we had the Highlander Suite, we have this, I'm gonna go back to our old friend David Williams to see if he has something from one of his films that we can license from him. And we got the Phantoms, we got the 5 tracks, and then the final Dragon Soldiers theme, which is actually my mom's favorite theme from that album. She says, "Oh, it sounds so bombastic and grand," and so she was very happy when I had sent that to her, and she just listened to it yesterday, and she was like, "Wow, this is really cool." And we decided, we're gonna put these tracks on volume 2, and we're already working on 3 and 4. 3 will be the one that's called Xenomorph, which will have the Alien suite, and then we're trying, I don't know if that's going to happen actually, we're trying to do the 4th one, which has the tentative title Bumps to the Hollows, which is a reference to Jerry Goldsmith's European legend score. And the 4th one would, if we can, include the Tim Souster cues that were tracked by Ridley Scott for Legend when he was working on the European cut of the version. And as you might know, Tangerine Dream was actually hired to do the United States version, the American version, but we still think that if the collectors could have, or the fans of the film on the Jerry's, if they could have access to the original songs or tracks that the album, or not the album, the film was tracked with, I think that would be something, because no attempt track has never been released to any film. So that would be kind of fun if we could say, it's a DeWolf in England. It's a DeWolf issue. And I've been in touch with somebody there, and they've been really helpful, very nice. But I don't know if they're actually going to be able to do that creatively if they don't want to do that. Cool. But that's just something we have to figure out. But so to go back to your question, it's pretty much like it's pretty much a work in progress, like that happens contemporaneously, that we're just saying, we're doing this now, and then we're already collecting material for the new one. And then while we're working on 2, we're working, this could work on 3, So we'll never stop working, I mean, I'm 57 now, and I think I will just work on this until they carry me out with my feet first. It's a passion.
Love
it's
that.
a passion. It's a I don't want to say it's a lifestyle or a life choice, but I wouldn't, other than making films again, which is what I did before, I don't think I could do anything else. It's just such a passion, and the people I'm working with, Silvio, George, Nikiforos, the people at SSP, Kim and Torod, Sarah Horner, Christian, those are people you only know from the movie posters.
Okay.
Like Craig Safin has really become, we did Remo Willis with him and then a few other albums. He has become a good friend, and he was, the first time I saw his name was in Germany when I was watching Cheers, and I saw music, Craig Safin. And now I'm his friend, he's my friend. And, when we used to live in Los Angeles, we would always go out for bagels and sausages. And it was just, it's the fact that the composers are so underappreciated. They're underappreciated. So whenever they find somebody like me and Christopher and Christian and Craig Safin and David Williams, we already start talking about movies and film scores that, we're like scuba diving and it's a lot of fun. It's definitely a choice that made a lot of sense for me at the time, and that I just absolutely never regretted since in almost 30 years.
So before you started Perseverance Records, do you remember what are some of the first film scores that really helped you fall in love with film scores?
Oh, the first one actually was Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan by James Horner. That was the first one where I really walked out of the theater wishing the melody. I mean, I had others before, like Bedknobs and Broomsticks by the Sherman Brothers, but those are like really because I was a little boy and I liked the songs and the music. And then my sister got a recording of Ennio Morricone's The Professional. That's not the movie with Jean Reno, it's the one with Jean-Paul Belmondo. And we were just tear into that record and played over and over and over and over again. And then I bought Once Upon a Time in the West by Morricone. Brilliant score.
Yeah.
And the next one that came was Star Trek II, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and E.T. Those are probably the three scores that I would say even the path for me to slip into film music professionally.
Yeah, those are all great scores.
Those are all amazing.
Yeah, I know.
I wasn't in love with those scores. I was having a conversation yesterday with someone about some of those original Morricone scores on vinyl, and how the original Italian presses are so difficult to come by because there was a rule for a long time about exports, and those albums not leaving Italy as some kind of cultural protection. they didn't leave Italy, so finding them is so rare. And I thought of this and how the idea of you kind of helping a lot of these scores endure and find new audiences is really cool.
Yeah, we do it. I mean, we do it for the composers and for the fans, and if we make a little bit of money on the side, that's even the better.
Even better.
Yeah.
Gravy.
Even gravy, yeah.
So there are a lot of movies that are getting released on streaming, and I feel like not a lot of them are getting actual physical releases. Some of them are getting released digitally. Are you looking to possibly get into the streaming space? So, there's probably some scores out there that people want released on a physical vinyl or something.
We're trying to get digital rights to whatever we release, just because there's just a huge digital market. Downloading, streaming, tethered streaming. Who knows if AI will figure into that at some point. But you're right, it is a huge market, and we actually have like a couple albums that make like a couple of $1,000 a month. And the main, we still want to release hard copies, CDs. We haven't gone into the LP market yet because that's just like a whole nother thing that I'm not familiar with. So I'm not going to do that for a while. But the streaming market is not very lucrative because they pay like fractions of a cent for each download. But when you do that a few million times, it accumulates, and it's nice, But we still think that a CD album, a physical album with liner notes and pictures and all that, that they still just have a legitimacy.
Definitely.
And that's probably not going to go away. I mean, maybe it'll go away for a little while, but it's just like with the LPs, like, what was it, 10 years ago? They came back and now they're being sold for like 30, 40, 50 bucks a pop. And if we can do that with the CD markets, more power to us.
So I know we've talked about a lot of, great composers, Jerry Goldsmith, Mario Beltrami. Are there any like new composers that have caught your attention, like that have come out in like the last 5-10 years?
I really like Brian Walston. We did a few albums with him. He's really good. He's very melodic. He knows exactly how to write a melody, and how to score a picture. He's really somebody to watch. Alan Darian has been around for she's 50. No, he's 60 now, I think. He's really good. He's very good. what's the name of the Swedish guy? Gustav Sörensen, I think is his name. And he really caught my ear. And in the States, Edwin Whaler is good. He has a good eye or a good ear for melody. So that's the one that we had the Dragon Soldiers track with on the album. I don't even know if there's any who else would be a new one. I think the Icelandic woman Hildur or something, Freya Hildursdóttir or somebody who did the Joker and got the Oscar for it. I think it was very well deserved. It was a brilliant score. And then I don't know. It's yeah, I don't know any more names.
Well, I think that was 5. So I think you did
5, you know. Okay.
4 or 5.
I would do the film school with a bunch of Icelandic guys, and they tried to teach me a little bit of Icelandic, and it's a really difficult language to learn.
Yeah, I can imagine. I could tell that wasn't the first time you'd pronounced something Icelandic, though. That was much better than we could have done.
Christoloras.
Yeah, exactly.
You're also much better at speaking Greek than us. So I know we've talked about some of the scores you've been working on, and some things that are in progress. But are there any like White Whale scores that you hope to acquire at some point?
Yeah, Ryan stole my questions. What I was going to ask too. What's your holy grail?
What'd you say?
What is your holy grail? If you still
my holy grail, it's definitely Highlander, and I think if Zoe Cayman comes through, then we'll do a Highlander re-recording. Also, we're working with the Brigham Young University at the moment. We want to do a whole bunch of Jerry Fielding re-recordings that Nikki Foras put me onto. We want to do those. I also want to do Scarface by Giorgio Moroder, but that came out in La La Land now, which is really sad. This Thing by Dimitri Chonkin. I would like to give it a real royal treatment, not just release the old tracks because they sound okay, but if you can do a re-recording, then I think it has like 3 on marginal, which is that electronic, what do you call it? EWM, electronic wind machine, something like that, or electronic wind instrument. And that is something that I would like to re-record. And then we're doing a big James Horner sci-fi score that we're going to give also the royal treatment. And there have been discussions on this about the boards, and it's a challenge. It's a real challenge. As part of the 5 hours of film music by James Horner, we're also doing the concert suites that he did. There's like 13 of them. They range from anywhere from 5 minutes to 30 minutes. And there's probably going to be 2 records or 3 records, or albums, I should rather say, that will contain 1 or 2 James Horner scores with 2 to 4 concert pieces. And the first one is The Dresser and The Hand. And we're actually trying to get Oliver Stone to give us an endorsement, because that was the movie he directed. I think that was the first movie he wrote and directed, was The Hand. And yeah, then there's just so much more, man. I really think that owning content is the way to go for the future for record labels. I mean, Silver Screen has made a fortune with their recordings in Prague, and we are contemplating also to go to Prague for the re-recordings because they just have such an amazing orchestra. They've done that for a decade, well, two decades, 3 decades, something like that now. And I think that's the way to go, because if you want to license something like from a name Sony if you want to go with them, they usually keep the digital download rights for them, and that's just a big chunk taken out of the royalties that we would get, So we'll see how that'll work. But I really think that we're going to more and more record new renditions of the older scores, like the Hand the Dresser from the 80s, and then who knows what will be next. It's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge, but it's a challenge I'm up for. I know that Nikiforos is up for, George, Silvio. So yeah,
that's great. And we have so much respect for what you do, and the fact that you're doing everything right. You're going through the estates,
thank you, Ryan.
and
Nicole.
You're not trying to take any shortcuts in getting this stuff released. You're trying to get everyone's blessing that you need. And
yep, exactly.
And again, just to reiterate for anyone out there that hasn't listened to these yet, the recording quality it's so beautiful.
No,
they're really beautiful recordings.
Yeah,
so
they're like impeccable.
If you have any interest in these scores at all, definitely give them a listen, because they're really fantastic. They blew me away.
We have an amazing mastering engineer, Les Brockman, who actually has a Grammy. So he's doing all of our albums, and just an amazing guy. He just knows he has a perfect ear. I mean, he's right on the spot. Whenever you give him something, he just makes it 100 more times wonderful to listen to. He's absolutely amazing. He's done a few albums for us, and he's going to do the next ones, all of them.
Yeah, that's great. So definitely check out Forsaken Themes from Fantastic Films Volume 2, Who Wants to Live Forever. There's also Fantastic Films Volume 1, Tears and Rain. And I mean, Perseverance Records has a great
Tears
catalog.
And Rain, it's called Tears and Rain.
Tears and Rain, right? Volume 1 is Tears and Rain.
And if you want to go to talk to us, I don't know, can I mention our website?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, you can go to perseverancerecords.com, and you can send us emails from there if you have questions, if you have suggestions. That we are always willing and happy to talk to you, and send us notes, and we would love to engage you. If you have any ideas for film scores that need to be re-recorded, let us know, and we'll see what we can do. If there's a market for it, we might do it. You might think of something that we hadn't thought of yet, so you don't know. It might happen.
It's a dangerous thing to open your inbox to fans, Robin.
Yes, exactly.
Very generous of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're gonna get a lot of weird emails.
We will have your website in our show notes so people can find your website there. Thank you so much, Robin. It was a pleasure to meet you and to talk to you, and we fully support what you're doing.
Thank you, Ryan, and thank you, Nicole. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your Saturday. Yeah, that was very nice of you, and I had a great time. And maybe we can do this again when the James Horner stuff comes out.
For sure, absolutely.
Absolutely, this was our pleasure. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day as well.
Yeah. Cool. And,
thanks,
guys.
Yeah, and we'll let you know when this is ready, and we'll make sure to help you promote your releases.
Cool. Thanks, Ryan.
right.
Thanks, Nicole.
All right, thank you.
Thanks,
Have
Robin.
a good
Great day.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us this week on Soundtrack Your Life. Make sure to visit our website, soundtrackyourlife.net, where you can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. While you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too.